Because if we remain silent, nothing changes. But if every single one of us does something to change this situation, even if it's the minutest amount of change, then multiplied by the billions of people who are on the planet, that change will be monumental. And that change will come for sure, as long as we all do our part. Today, we went to a protest of the hypocritical movement of Stop the War.
Are we going to stop the war?
Appealing to both sides.
That has happened, I already told you. And that has failed.
Yeah, so that's our aim, to appeal to both sides for the immediacy negotiate the peace. That's all.
And what does Ukraine have to give to Russia to achieve this peace?
Come to the negotiations.
What does Ukraine have to give to Russia?
It will come to the negotiations.
You can't answer this question. Well, why is it so difficult for you? What does Ukraine have to give to Russia to achieve this peace? Ukraine already gave their nukes.
I can't speak for Ukraine.
Oh, you can't speak for Ukraine. Then why are you here? Exactly. Why are you guys here? You're speaking for Ukraine. You're speaking against Ukraine.
We are appealing to both sides.
You're speaking against Ukraine right now. Oh, look, wage is not war, as if it has something to do with that. No. Keep your propaganda to yourself. Keep your Russophile propaganda to yourself, guys. I don't need it.
That's not related to Ukraine.
Yes, but why are you keeping it here? This is a supposedly anti-war protest.
Ukraine is to face the problems of poverty in Britain will be solved.
Of course. All the homeless will stop being homeless. Just, give the shells. Instead of giving Ukraine shells, give the homeless the shells. Give them.
No,
that's going to solve homelessness,
and,
right?
Giving up the nuclear weapons was unlike Ukraine.
Hold on. Heroyam Slava!
These individuals claim that if they stop supplying Ukraine with weapons, the war will end. Unfortunately, they are beyond the understanding that underpowering the victim does not stop the aggressor.
I thought you might have a share.
Guys, I just don't get it. I just don't understand how you can make this right in your own heads. How you can come here and seriously say, okay, look, two men are fighting. The one who started this fight is attacking the other. The one who's getting attacked is getting help now to kind of separate the other guy from him. And you guys are saying, no, leave them be, let the aggressor beat him up. What? You need to side with the victim, not with the aggressor. You're siding with Putin. This is what Putin wants. Watch some of Putin's James Bond monologues.
Invaded
You
Russia.
haven't.
Ukraine invaded
Oh yeah,
Russia.
Ukraine invaded Russia. I've heard this song and dance before. We've all heard this song and dance before.
Invaded Russia.
And these little silly protests are popping up around London today like pimples.
Sorry.
It's ridiculous.
It's Russia.
And they have always failed to acknowledge this basic piece of information. We have spoken with them many times. We have asked them, who invaded Ukraine?
Because of war. Because this is trust. Who went to...
Was it also the British who invaded Ukraine?
No, the Russians.
The Russians invaded Ukraine. Okay, so Russia started the war, not the British. So do you retract that? You just said the British started the war. Do you retract that?
They never want to answer. They never want to give a clear-cut reply to that question, because they know it was Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia has escalated this war. Russia is to blame for this war. It's as simple as that. Any kind of deviation from that is whataboutism.
Invaded Ukraine.
And this individual asked me why I'm here. He asked me if I don't have anything better to do. That's very funny. Russian troops out. How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? Sorry? NATO did nothing to Russia. Hold on, what did NATO do to Russia? What did NATO do to Russia? Hold on, what did NATO do to Russia? There were conversations of Russia joining NATO.
And woefully, we need to face the facts head on. We need to live in reality, not in conspiracy theory. Whatever other countries did somewhere else has nothing to do with the situation in Ukraine. But what Russia has done in the past is very telling to what they have done in Ukraine. Remember about Georgia. All the way back in 2008, The Russians have invaded Georgia with exactly the same kind of excuses they've given after the invasion of Ukraine in 2014. They were saying that the Russian speakers were getting harassed. They were saying the Russian speakers were getting exterminated. Whilst now we see a huge amount of the Ukrainian military speaking Russian whilst fighting against the Russian terrorist regime. My friends, the Russians knew from the very beginning that this was complete nonsense. Yevgeny Prigozhin himself has said so many times, he spilled the beans, he revealed the cards, he told so to everybody, to everyone in the world, that this war was not started to save anybody. This war was started for greed. This war was started because the Russian elites wanted to ransack Ukraine, because they wanted to own Ukraine and to dominate it for their own gains. Not to save the Russian speakers or the ethnic Russians, and much less to face some kind of a phantom Nazi group that never existed in the first place. Prigozhin said so himself, that they had been fighting the Ukrainian military for years, and they were still looking for these supposed Nazis. They still couldn't find them. They were nowhere to be found.
Except the synagogue.
Why is that? Oh yes, except in the synagogue. Because that makes as much sense as the claims that the Russians have made about Ukraine. I mean, of course, Ukraine has a Jewish Nazi as a president. It makes all the sense in the world. He wants to commit suicide. It makes all the sense in the world, my friends. But that's not all of it. We have heard the most laughable and ridiculous arguments presented to us in today's protest. We have heard people telling us that this war needs to stop. And when we ask them, how are you going to do it? How are you going to stop the war? They struggle to find an answer. It's like people come to a protest to say something, to give a message to people. And when they're asked, what is your message? They don't know what to say.
Look, you know that the British are bound to give their weapons to Ukraine now because of the Budapest Memorandum, because the British have pledged to help Ukraine maintain the sovereignty over their borders. And Russia has violated those borders. Do you agree with that?
But who is making the
No, do you agree with that? Do you agree that Russia has violated Ukrainian borders?
Do you agree that?
Do you agree that Russia has violated Ukrainian borders? Yes or no? Russia has violated Ukrainian borders. Do you agree with that? Okay, excellent. So the British are bound to send weapons to Ukraine. We're on the same page. Why are you guys here?
Why not call for peace? Why don't the British say?
There have been calls for peace. There have been treaties in the past. You want me to give you a few? You want me? Not at all. We're not going to take it everywhere. We're going to keep it right here, smack in the middle of your protest. Smack in the middle of your protest. That's right. Now, I can give you a list of the different agreements that Russia has violated. The main one is the Budapest Memorandum, when Ukraine has given up the third biggest nuclear arsenal in human history. Another one was the friendship agreement between Ukraine and Russia, another agreement in which Russia has promised to not attack Ukraine. Another agreement, the two Minsk agreements, which both were violated by Russia. Excuse me? Okay, but you accept those agreements that I just mentioned. You accept that Russia violated them. Did Russia violate those agreements? Did they violate those agreements or no?
There was a chance of a good chance of peace, and the British and the NATO going to solve that chance.
My friend, if you tell me something, I will say I agree or I disagree. I'm not going to avoid the question forever. You're avoiding the question right now. Did the Russians violate those agreements?
Quite possible.
Huh? Quite possible. Are you serious? Are you serious?
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question.
Okay, go on. No problem. You can ask whatever
Okay,
question.
what is your solution?
My solution, excellent question. I love that question. To give Ukraine the weapons Ukraine needs to win this war. To finally beat back the Russian military and not allow them to invade Ukraine anymore.
How many more people will die?
How many more people will die? How many more people have already died up until this point? Because of these appeasement tactics that you are perpetrating right now. You are perpetrating the same appeasement tactics that were done in World War II by some apologists who were saying, no, we don't want war with Hitler. We're just going to give Hitler whatever he needs. That's what you're doing right now. Now I have to ask you, are you not ashamed of yourself? No, are you not ashamed of yourself? You're preventing the Ukrainian people from getting the weapons they need to defend themselves, to defend their lives. That's what you're doing. You think the Ukrainian people wanted war? No, hold on. Think the Ukrainians wanted war?
This is not aggressive. That's a buzzword. That's not. You're telling the victim to move away. Really?
You think the Ukraine? Okay,
They're caught with their pants
got
down.
water.
Because, my friends, they have no message. The only thing they have is propaganda that's coming all the way from Kremlin.
Let's see. Where is this? Oh, RT, of course, RT.
Why
You
are
see,
they?
RT is Russian TV. You
Oh, is
it's
it?
Of course, RT is Russian news. They're showing footage of RT. It's pure propaganda. That's a good start.
That's the only thing they have. And that's the only thing that will ever show. We have to face off against such silly ideas. Because even the most ridiculous points, even the most ridiculous ideas will eventually, inevitably, gain some traction in the world. It is up to us, my friends, up to every single one of us to stop that from happening. Because Ukraine will not be able to win if Ukraine does not get support it needs from abroad. And Ukraine needs more support. Ukraine needs air defense. Ukraine needs fighter jets. Ukraine needs tanks. Ukraine needs shells. Ukraine needs its arms. Because as the ancient saying goes, arms keep peace. How else can we negotiate with a terrorist state like Russia, who attacks any country that they expect will not fight back? How else? Why did Russia not attack Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania? All of which the Russians have claimed were rightfully, according to them, in their sphere of influence. Why did they not do it? They did not do it because they were in NATO. Because Russia is afraid of NATO, and rightfully so. Because NATO is powerful. NATO could actually beat back any Russian invasion. But Ukraine couldn't. It never had anything to do with Russian speakers, or with Nazis, or with gas, or with oil, or whatever else people come up with. It had to do with one thing, and that was accountability. The Russians felt that there would be no accountability if they attacked Ukraine. That is the mentality of a bully. Because a bully is not looking for a fair fight. A bully is not looking for a challenge. A bully is looking to abuse someone else, someone weaker, someone who will not fight back. But the Russians were wrong. And Ukraine has proven so, and it keeps proving so every single day. However, the world needs to know that Russia cannot be trifled with. Russia cannot be negotiated with. The only negotiation tactic Russia understands is force. That is the only thing they get. And that is the only thing they will get until they get out of Ukraine.